is that what's interesting is that the conversation is even if you have wealthy Black households, the picture looks different. And so it really turns into it's definitely a race issue, but it's also a class issue as well. So yeah.
Um, yeah, I wanted to say, Lynn, I think we connected via email a while ago, but haven't done anywhere near enough. A lot of Clio folks are doing that kind of work in Miami.
Hmm.
That kind of, inner city heat justice, working with folks who aren't traditionally in sort of a lot of like these academic or governmental spaces. So I, I'm going to put it in my little task manager to touch base with you again, because I think especially our Empowering Resilient Women program
Yeah.
would be, yeah, would be something really well aligned with that. And I would love to get them in touch with you.
And
I
I
did just want
appreciate.
to, sorry, I wanted to say real quick, and this is something that we've covered in the program before.
Mhm.
All of those things you're describing, with crime and lack of opportunity and such, there is a strong correlation between extreme heat and violent crime. And then of course with asthma and different kind of health outcomes, and UPS workers nearly dropping dead on the job because they don't have air conditioning in their trucks. It's
Mhm.
that's a big thing that we focus on, is taking these lived experiences of folks who may not have had the luxury of, I'm sorry if you keep hearing squeaking. I have new guests that want attention. But yeah, it's taking folks who may not have had the luxury of a robust science education, which we all know what the state of public education is in this country, and helping them to make those connections, so that they can, address the root causes of these problems.
Yeah.
And I really glad that you are, yeah, that you are helping to make those connections with folks. So, thank you for your work as well.
Well, no, thank you. And I have to tell you, Carolyn, I had communicated with the other co-founder. Her name is Kimberly Armstrong. Some of your passion about the struggle and the fight that you're having there in Florida. And she decided her company was having a retreat, and she challenged them and said, why are you, having this retreat in Florida? And she protested. She was the only one that that told them that it was not going to Florida because of the reasons that you shared. And so I want you to know that, we're listening, and in our own way, we're trying to support, so let us know if there's some other things that we can do as well.
Also, I like to think that I'm fighting the good fight, but also if you have any queer employees, they may not particularly want to come to Florida either, and I don't blame them at all. So there's that. Patrick, I see you just joined us. I'm wearing the facilitator hat today. We don't have our speaker here as of yet, but we're just kind of talking about what's been going on in the past week and some climate justice issues that we've been discussing. Oh, I'm so sorry. Both Franks have their hands up, and I'm not sure who was first. Um, okay, Frank Renshaw, it is you're up.
Okay, so couple of things. First of all, I just stuck in the chat something that I received a while ago that's intriguing. It's actually a letter from the current COP president. It is worth a read. There's many of us who are very suspicious about it, but still, it's there. While we're talking on the COP front, and something particularly relevant to Eric and Lynn, one of the things that has happened recently that's kind of exciting here on the home front, the sustainability coordinator, somebody I've known for quite some number of years over at Lewis and Clark, teaches a sustainability course that I talked to last year about building a global blue-green zone. And she got excited enough that said, hey, why don't you come give that at the beginning this year this year and have the students work on developing local avenues for connecting to the cops. So why this is exciting is a lot of times in terms of local efforts, I've been the sort of the primary person pushing the cart up the hill. And now there's a bunch of people going to be pushing it with me. And so Eric and Lynn, I've had conversations with both of you. This is something that may be a nice bit of catalyst.
Thank you. Other Frank, if you wanted to add to that or whatever point you were making before.
It's going to be a before point, but I can come back to the cop
I'll
point.
allow it.
That's so one Lynn, one practice that has been emerging as a really powerful one is to, with the deep community engagement activities that you're talking about in Baltimore, a tricky city, right? I mean, I'm just around the corner in DC, but is when there are action plans in cities, and they're going to be in cities more than they're going to be in counties, and they're going to be more than they're going to be in states. But I mean, that's true in Florida as it is true in other places. But the Baltimore Climate Action Plan hasn't been updated in a really long time. So clearly it's rising as a priority for this administration. And there's a lot of intersectional work that's really important between air quality and climate decarbonization that are really important. You're going to see a lot of social impact and benefit in the near term in air quality before you're going to see it in climate mitigation, impact when it aggregates in the atmosphere. So I just, but what we know is very true is that people who are in the positions of leading climate action plans or resilience plans have incredibly small ability to engage their constituents to build social support for those plans or to build the capacity to actually do them. And so, I just put that out there that as you move into those communities and build that awareness, that might be something you want to look at as part of that partnership with those offices and people, because they always need help. So I don't know if that helps you.
Lynn, did you want to add to that?
She may have gone off camera. Well, that's a general point, right? Because that is a true practice that we're seeing in communities all over the place. Unfortunately, elected officials and governments have not seen the power and potential and urgency and critical role of the stuff we do. And so as a result, a lot of funding has been episodic and minimal and insufficient because they still are trying to figure out how to transform society without education. It can't be done, but they're still trying anyway. And so they're going to get humbled, and then our ability to help them is going to be increased. But the more explicit we are to help them with their climate plan and their climate goals, as opposed to helping us with our education goals, that pivot is incredibly helpful in getting more support.
Thank you. I looking at the screen, Emily, I don't think we've heard from you. Do you have anything interesting going on to report? Oh, actually, so sorry. Is
No.
Climate the organization
Yeah.
for speaker? Awesome.
Bailey that's joining, because I just messaged her. Bailey, is that you on the Care About Climate screen here?
Was that directed at me, Gina?
No, Haley. Oh, no, it's not Care About Climate. Hi, for whoever's in the care about climate box, are you able to unmute? Not sure what's going on here.
Hi, good evening from here.
Hi, can you
Hi.
hear us okay?
Yeah, good evening from Abuja, Nigeria. My name is Mujida and I am glad to be here.
Thanks for being here.
Wonderful. We've been doing a bit of a roundtable talking about some of the some of the programs that we work in, especially with regard to climate justice. If Care About Climate is your organization, we'd love to hear a little bit more about that. Whatever you've been up to lately, we are absolutely interested to hear about it.
Okay, so I would love to share my screen, but then I would also need maybe a couple of minutes to join in with my computer. I don't know if that's okay, or you want me to go ahead without sharing the screen.
I think we got a couple minutes.
I think, yeah, I'm facilitating, but Gina's technically the host, so I think she needs to make the allowance for screen sharing.
Have the ability.
I think we all have it. I see
Yeah.
screen share, so certainly Mujita should have it.
Yeah, the settings in the room are that everybody can share, so we're all good.
Got it. Okay, I didn't know any of the back end stuff that was going on.
That's fair. And there's Haley. Hi, Haley.
Okay, so please 1 second. I'm trying to join with my computer. But while that is going on, I would like to start by saying that Care About Climate is a youth-led organization that is working towards ensuring that every young person, especially, has the appropriate knowledge and skills to participate properly, like effectively in climate decision-making spaces, especially. So we have a training that is called the International Climate Advocacy and Policy Training. Sorry, now I may have to pause for a while because there's a bit of interference on my end. 1 minute, please.
Vegeta, do you want me to share the slides?
Or computer, but not sure.
Yes, please share the slides.
All right, 1 moment.
Absolutely. However it works best for y'all.
While that's getting worked out, could I say a quick thing about the process to develop the third version of the Climate Literacy Guide?
Sure.
It'll be real quick. We are closing in on our 4th order draft already. It's been a lot of work on the behind the scenes to get this done. We are going to submit it for federal review on July 26th, sorry. And then as a result of iterating with the heads of climate for 14 agencies, Department of the US government, send it to public comment in September, probably during Climate Week. And then, once we get, and please give us the full unvarnished feedback. It'll be a request for comment, meaning line by line, page by page specific. And then we will work on that. And it looks like we are going to release it at, if the proposal is accepted, at COP28 on December 8th for the Education Skills and Youth Day in the US Center. And there's a new skills section of the Climate Literacy Guide that is not just knowledge, but it also has skills in partnership with an international framework called the IDGs, Inner Development Goals, which is an international skills framework for sustainable development goals. But we've put a climate focus on it. So A lot's going on behind the scenes, but the next time you'll see something is in September. So I wish I could share things more, but there is definitely a justice focus in this round. So that does align to the theme of the day.
Awesome, thank you. All right, looks like Haley's got the slides ready. And I sincerely apologize if I mispronounce it, Mujida. If you want to go ahead and start talking, then we absolutely want to hear from you.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be the one starting. So thank you all for your patience. And that was the perfect amount of timing, Frank. So excellent job on that plug. Really excited about that climate literacy guide. So looking forward to it. But my name's Haley. I'm the co-executive director of Care About Climate. As Majida mentioned a little bit about what we do. So I'll just jump into the fact that today we're presenting our International Climate Policy and Advocacy Training, which has 7 modules with the goal of empowering communities to be their best advocates in climate decision-making spaces. And before we jump to the next slide, I'm just wondering if people could put a plus or a minus or thumbs up, anything in the chat to indicate, have you been to COP before? Is my first question for you. Let's see. A lot of thumbs ups, a lot of pluses. Awesome. My next question then is, for those that have been, did you have any training, or do you remember what it was like to go to your first COP? Would you have found training to be really helpful? Yeah, all right. That if you're having your thumbs up, if you haven't been, I hope the answer is that you hope training would be useful for you as well. But we found this through going to our first COPs as young people, realizing that when we showed up, we had no idea what was going on. And we felt like we spent all these emissions going to this space, and we really felt like it was an exciting opportunity. And after going to our first COP, we realized that we kind of didn't make the most of it. And we felt a little bit discouraged because we didn't know how to plug in, how to advocate, and what really our purpose was in this space. Meanwhile, we're hearing stories of, hundreds of fossil fuel companies going and kind of stepping on all of the possible progress. And we really wanted to change that. So we decided to make this training. We already covered who Care About Climate is, so I'll just skip forward. So why, right? We realized that to hold policymakers accountable, we really needed to have a way to make sure that we are prepared to be there and to influence the outcomes. We also learned that when it comes to these spaces, intention really is everything. COP is not meant just for tourism, to go have fun and to see a new city and to listen to, just a bunch of different really important people saying a bunch of really important things. But meanwhile, negotiators are in the back room, kind of negating all of the amazing solutions oftentimes that we're hearing from the side events. And so we really thought that intention is everything. We wanted to create a just future requires people to be really intentional when they're entering this COP space. Next, COP is chaotic. It's a fact. You go there, there's, last year, 40,000 people, and you just are so overwhelmed, and there's not really a rule book for exactly what you do and what's right for you. So it's really important to be prepared in advance. And lastly, to strengthen solidarity. I know that all of us here from the US and the global North, we know that, there's more of a responsibility coming from being called for by our countries in particular to take action, to provide finance, to really recognize their role in combating climate change, not just at home, but also abroad. And it's really important for there to be solidarity, to understand, wow, I mean, I live in Hawaii, so a little bit different, but maybe some people who experience less climate impacts in the US. Meanwhile, there's floods going on in India right now, and heat records being broken all around the nation, or all around the world, sorry. And not everyone is experiencing them the same. And so we really wanted to make sure that we have a training that recognizes that people experience things differently. And with that, I will pass it over to Mujida.
Okay, so thank you, Eli, and hi again, everyone. My name is Mujida, and I am the program lead for COP training at Care About Climate. Now, you might be wondering why we decided to put together a training for COP. I mean, what's the big deal about the UNFCCC? What's the big deal about COP itself? Well, this training was born out of the need to empower young people, especially, to be active in decision-making spaces that are related to climate change, which is a global issue that affects all of us, irrespective of our socioeconomic situation. And we also feel, like Ailey said, that COP shouldn't just be another tourist destination for young people or anyone for that matter. It is where action is galvanized, where policies are shaped, where change is made. And we firmly believe that it's time to step up and speak the language that policy makers understand. We need to hold them accountable for climate justice and the commitments they make while at COP when they return to their home countries. But there's no rule book for COP, and that is where we come in. Our 7-module course is designed for young, passionate advocates, and it guides young people through the intricate world of COP, from understanding the history, structure, and agreements of the UNFCCC to learning about the negotiations and tools for active engagement. We've got it all covered, in the sense that the training strengthens the global climate community by training advocates to break down the systemic challenges that hold some communities back, especially the vulnerable ones. And the uniqueness of the training is that our self-paced model allows participants to take the course at their own pace, and this creates an enabling environment for learning. At the same time, no course taker is alone on the journey, because we have live discussion sessions that are perfect opportunities for the participants to discuss their learning and ask questions, which makes it a very vibrant learning community where diverse perspectives are valued. You know, you get to have perspectives from the global north. They hear how it is for people from the global south. You will have a mix of perspectives and experiences are shared. But it doesn't even stop there. We also recognize that climate change and climate justice knows no boundaries. So the course is available in English, Spanish, Arabic, and French. Last year it was only available in English, but this year we're adding 3 more languages as we take steps to ensuring inclusivity and accessibility of the course to everyone, wherever you are in the world. Again, we are supporting the well-being of climate advocates because, like Ailey said, COP is usually very chaotic. And no matter how passionate you are, your advocacy would definitely be affected if you're not in your best physical and mental state. That's why the course provides mental health resources and shares tips to navigate the challenges of climate policy. Like I said earlier, the course is divided into 7 modules, which has 2 major parts. Part 1 focuses on the technical parts of the COP and UNFCCC processes, and part 2 deals with the effective engagement of the individual that attends COP. The first module talks about the history, the structure, and the agreement and the arrangements of the UNFCCC, while module 2 goes on to talk about the history, structure, and the role of COPs in the UNFCCC structure. Moving on to module 3, which is the most interesting part for me, it delves into the overview of negotiations at COP across the major themes that are discussed. Then module 4, which starts the part 2 of the course, goes further to look into how the individual engages actively at COP. We offer tools for active engagement, while module 5 helps the participants to achieve their COP goals through daily scheduling, goal setting, and tips for daily event attendance. In module 6, which deals with climate justice, indigenous and youth leadership, as well as activism, are the focus in that module. And then the final module, which is module 7, prepares the participants for the upcoming COP and beyond. So being a dynamic course, module 7 this year focuses on the expectations of advocates at COP28, how to navigate the host city, that is Dubai, and what we hope to achieve beyond COP28. This also means that The course will be open for some time after COP to allow for reflection of participants on how COP felt for them. So everyone attending COP will naturally have their expectations. And that is why we want people to come back at the end of COP to say whether they attended COP in person or they followed negotiation from home. We need to get their reflections to say, oh, COP met my expectations in this area. Oh no, it didn't meet my expectations in this area. And going forward, as we approach COP29, this is what I want to see, and this is how I want to engage my country leaders. Yeah. Yes, and that takes me to the fact that the course comes with a COP journal that helps in setting and tracking COP goals for individuals, as well as a certificate for completion. While at COP, our team offers on-the-ground support with people who have taken the course, connecting them with policymakers and constituencies based on their interests. And we hope by that to build a strong network of advocates that are effectively guided through the complex negotiations. We also have COP from Home, which is a virtual initiative that allows people that are not at COP physically to follow the negotiations from the comfort of their homes. We all know we have different restrictions, whether he's not getting a badge, whether it is visa issues or maybe work engagements that prevent people from attending COP at one point or the other. So COP from Home is our own way of ensuring that people who are not physically available at COP still engage in those conversations with people on the ground. Every day we have updates and daily rundowns of the events of that day. Negotiations, actions at COP, interesting sites, all of that on our Instagram live sessions, and our audience get to ask questions about areas of interest to them or places where they seek clarification. In 2024, we are launching our body system to complement our COP from Home, and that is a program that pairs participants with experienced mentors. So far, our impact has reached, that's for COP from Home. Last year, we reached about 150,000 people via social media. So people get to watch our lives. They feel, oh, this is important for their colleague or somebody in their circle, and they share, and we have robust engagement. In terms of pricing, we know that financial constraints differ from place to place, from person to person, and we also believe that everyone should have the opportunity to participate. That's why we have this affordable pricing of 25 USD per individual for people in the global north, and $10 for students or people from the global south, or anyone who is on a low income, with scholarships as well that are available for people that are really in need but cannot afford it. And this will be treated on a case-by-case basis. This contribution not only covers the course platform fees, but also supports our team's attendance and sometimes maybe other people at COP, but majorly our team attendance at COP. And we also have sessions for organizations and groups of people, say universities that have a COP delegation, or universities that want their students to learn about COP, organizations, corporate NGOs, to train them at different times. And that is also, the rate is not fixed. It's something that you send an email to us, and then we are able to understand what is expected of us, and we've discussed the rate. Very soon, we are opening the registration for our course this year. So please mark your calendars for August 1st to ensure that you secure your spot on the course, and be sure to follow us on our social media channels so that you don't miss out on the announcement. And with that, we would encourage you to get ready to make your mark at COP. Thank you, and we look forward to welcoming you on the course.
We did want to save time if there are any questions for anyone. Yeah, we didn't go into details of everything, so feel free.
I can call on folks for you, or if you want to call on people yourselves, either way is fine. I saw Patrick had his hand up, so if you want to go first, if you have questions for Haley and Mushida.
Well, that was just a thumbs up rather than a hand, so I'll pass it over to Frank and consider which questions I'd like to ask. Thank you.
If you don't mind, I just interject real quick. I saw in the chat, we recently had a gentleman, I so apologize that I don't necessarily know what the naming conventions, if this is the appropriate order, but it was Ingalen Franklin. I think Ojawale was the last name, but he's doing some amazing work with his community in Cameroon. So I would love to see more, I would just love to see more folks on the world stage from Africa. And yeah, I'm gonna do an email connecting y'all. Frank, go ahead.
So first of all, Haley and Majad, it's great to see both of you. Two quick questions. First of all, Haley, thank you for sending me the note about August 1st as far as registration, but when does the course start? And so that's number one. And number two, what is the number of, it sounds like you, with the registration, you're going to put a cap on the number of people in this experience. And what is that cap?
So Majida can answer the actual start date question. In terms of the cap, we don't really have a cap in mind, but for instance, if suddenly there was like 500 people that signed up this year, we probably wouldn't go beyond that, since there's only a few of us that are running it and it's all volunteer run. So we don't have that many people, but we don't expect that. Last year we had around 100 people for our first ever time. And in terms of scholarships, it says as needed, but really it's if people email us and identify that they need a scholarship, we don't even ask for extra details. We just say, cool, you emailed us, that shows enough initiative, welcome. So yeah, and then Majida, on when is the course actually starting?
Yeah, the course starts on the 1st of September.
Okay, good. Yeah, I can't promise you 500, but we do have about 2 or 3 courses that would profit from this experience.
Did you say this was all volunteer run, Haley?
I did. For now, hopefully. We're always applying to grants. If anyone knows of any, we're always looking for opportunities to fund it. But as you all know here, funding informal education work can often be quite challenging.
Lynn, I saw that you posted in the chat about it, but I would love to hear a little bit more. I know you had mentioned working in or with folks from Tanzania. Right, if you're not able to unmute yourself and talk right now, that's fine. Hopefully we can make introductions later and connect folks. Is anyone else politely waiting their turn?
I'm just impressed and thinking about taking it, although I'm not planning on attending COP, just because it looks like a really great course that I could benefit from learning.
Yeah, do it. You don't have to go to COP to be able to learn about it. It's kind of part of our point. And I know what you just said, young people, but it's for young, and as I mentioned, young at heart, anyone who feels that they would benefit. So there is a small extra section on Indigenous and youth activism because, people that are most impacted should get a little bit of an extra spotlight.
Frank, I saw your hand up first, so.
Sure. So thank you very much for this briefing on the training that's coming up. But one of the things I'm curious about is almost what, Colleen, what you were getting at is one of the things that is becoming clearer to me from the COP process is the action that needs to happen from the COP process isn't actually international. It's actually subnational across. And just, I think the training that you're doing, it would be tricky to transfer it to all subnational climate work, but I think so many of the same principles are probably applicable when you're talking about state or municipal or county or whatever level you want to use. But I just find that the more I get into this, the more impactful work is actually at the subnational level, especially in a country like the United States. We're like 54, 55 states, countries, in legal reality. So we're almost like a microcosm of the world. But still, even there, most of the deep work is done at the subnational level. So does that relate to your, but people to figure out how to work a state government versus an international architecture, does that transfer and does that align?
Yeah, that's a really good question, or I guess point, as well. We agree, and something that we've been finding is, things like the IRA, for instance, that those emissions goals are also being communicated in connection to our NDC. And so we do communicate those types of bridges because we feel that if people can effectively say, hey, you've agreed to this at the international level, in the US context, we know that states and counties, including the one I live in, have signed on to the Paris Agreement, right? If you can understand how these processes work and why they're important, then you can take that knowledge back to your local community and kind of use it as leverage, is how we've been explaining it to request more to be done. Additionally, we also, I Care About Climate at least, have a different program where we empower young people to learn about their NDC and analyze it for gender and intergenerational justice. And that translates to local NDC action efforts. And our last program is a new one that we're launching on Climate Champions. It's more of like a group that we help train and support, but then takes what they're learning and implements a local action align, saying, okay, our NDC is in the US 50 to 52%. I live in Texas and we contribute a lot to emissions. We're going to organize this project to help people understand what that means and also, plant some trees or whatever it is that someone feels empowered to do. So we're trying to build those threads together. This is just one part of what we're doing.
Thank you.
And then Frank Ranshaw.
Yeah, just a couple of things. First of all, Colleen, in reaction to doing this and not planning on attending the COPs, one of the things I found useful, very useful and encouraging about the program that these folks did last year was the COP from home, for some very obvious reasons. So, and yeah, I'm just going to keep it to one thing. So James, go on ahead.
Okay, so thank Frank, and don't feel if you need to pick it back up, you take the floor back again, okay? So kind of looking for international perspective. When we get an international call, which we need, every time we do, it's great. So looking for an African perspective, an African perspective there. This is, I would firmly say this is very relevant in the United States, and just seeing if this is relevant to at least in Nigeria, but where in policy, when it comes to implementing policy, we will make advances in policy, then how are they implemented? In the case of the United States, we literally have hundreds of billions of dollars now beginning to be brought out to take action on climate change. But one of the very obvious factors of it is if your family derives from France or England or Germany or Italy, you're very likely to get that money. If your family comes from Nigeria, if their history comes from Nigeria or Western Africa or Central Africa, you're not only not likely to get the money, but people will laugh behind your back of, well, you're incapable of doing this work. And they won't say why, but what they're thinking is they're looking at the color of your skin or your national origin. And we're working to break that down. And one of the ways we're working to break this down as part of the Clean Network is for young people, students, to go and do that work now, before it's even being done with the federal money, in areas where the older people are not doing it in very exciting ways, like, as people know here, making the US Capitol building more energy efficient, the Smithsonian more efficient, doing high-tech work, very high-tech work, and proving. If you want to say that Black people can't do this and it all should go to white people, we're proving not only can we do it, we're doing it before the white people, before just the white people are doing it. Our groups are very multi-generational, very multi-ethnic. It's, white kids are not excluded. This is like, we're all together. We're not we're working to break down that segregation. Does that resonate in Nigeria about making sure that when policy is implemented, that it doesn't just go to the traditional places that money goes?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would like to first thank you, James, for the incredible work you are doing in Africa. I would like to say that there are a lot of young people, especially, having amazing engagement in terms of climate adaptation, climate mitigation, and all of that in the country. Because for you, I feel like, yes, like you said, there's the fund there that you can all tap into. But for us, we don't have all the funds, and governments are not really getting the memo, if I can use that word. So we are the ones self-organizing within our spaces, pushing it to them, letting them understand what these policies mean. Sadly, there's a lot to do to educate our own policy makers in the climate space. So we are the young people saying, this is what we want you to do. And what we basically do is, let's say, at the end of COP27, we all came back home. Personally, in my organization, we had to speak to some of the policy holders we met at COP, telling them the direction we wanted ACE to take within the country. So that is the way we let them know this is how we want things to run. And then we bring ourselves together, people in the ACE space, we engage them and say, this is how we want this policy to run. And then when you're speaking in those places where we don't have access to, because we have told them and we have explained to them what we do, they are able to speak for us in a way that aligns with what we are doing. So we are the ones breaking down those policies as young people within our spaces. We are not just waiting for them. And when the funding comes, hopefully when the funding comes, because we hardly have access to funding, especially in country here. So when the funding comes, we hope that we are able to tap from it and it goes into the right spaces. But before the funding comes, we are happy to share that we are already getting support from our policy holders in places that matter to us, and that's linked directly to the policies that we want to see. What is left for us now is to be able to hold them accountable to the decisions they make while at COP. So they go to COP and they make commitments. What we want to start doing is to start holding them accountable. And that is why the course is also powerful, because we have things like helping people to understand how to read decision text. So there's this long text that comes out and people are like, what is this? If you do not even understand what those words mean, what the verbs there mean, you may not be able to actively engage your people when you get back home. And that is one of the things that we are working together on. I hope that answers it.
That's amazing. And if I could just, we're a little after 2 p.m., so I don't want to hold anyone against their will. I really just wanted to thank you for your saying with about, removing these barriers for young people to get involved. I was on a talk yesterday where, that's very much something that my organization tries to do. And I love that framing of it. And this is where I went a little bit off script, where I was just like, look, if you want the next generation to save us, hand them a megaphone and get out of the way. Because they've been told that, oh, the next generation and the youth and the children give us hope, and then we're stymieing their progress and we're not taking their ideas seriously. So yes, I so agree with that. And it sounds like our philosophies are aligned on that. And again, I think I'll pass this back off to Gina, if that's okay, since you're in charge of ending the call, if you so choose. But thank you for the work you're doing. And I'm definitely going to look into it myself as well.
Yeah, thank you, Carolyn, for facilitating, and Haley and Mujita for both being here and chatting some more. I saw some emails got exchanged in the chat, which is really good. So maybe there'll be some follow-up. But otherwise, yeah, we're at the top of the hour, and thank you everyone for being here.
Thank you all so much for listening to our training. Let us know if you have any questions or thoughts on improvement or anything. Look forward to seeing you in it.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.